Nitilapavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-Vedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudeva ki jai. Nitilapavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-Vedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nitilapavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitilapavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keśava-vrata Mahārāja ki jai. Nitilapavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupada ki jai. Nitilapavishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Nitilapavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Mahārāja ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Śrīla Baladeva Vijñāna Prabhu ki jai. Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. Shri Natham Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Trai ki jai. Śrīla Kṛṣṇa Das Kaviraj Gosvāmī Prabhu ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dashraghunath Shara Gosvāmī Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Baladeva Rāsa-yatra ki jai. Shri Kṛṣṇa Vasanti-rāsa ki jai. Shri Vamsi-vadananda Thakur ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Tithi ki jai. Shri Śyāmananda Prabhu ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Tithi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Gangeya Champeya Tarirvinindi Rochi Pravaha Snapitatma Vrinde Bandhu Kabandhu Tyuti Deva Vaso Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam. Sorry. Bimbadaro Dvitaramandahasya Nasagramukta Duti Dipitase Vichitaratna Paranashiyadye Vinde Namaste Charanaravindam Samasta Vaikunta Shiromano Shri Krishnasya Vrindavanadanya Dani Tatati Kare Vrishabhanu Putra Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam Tadagaya Palava Pushpa Bringa Mrigati Birma Davake Vikunja Madhvadi Birpanti Vibhushamana Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam Tadiya Dutena Atyutkayo Keli Vilasa Sevi Tatso Bhagankena Niruchatam Tarvinde Namaste Charanaravindam Rasa-līlā Vasatishta Vrinda Vanitare Shangri Saroja Seva Lavya Chabum Sankripaya Tavaiva Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam Tam Kirtase Satvata Tantra Vipir Lila Vidhana Kila Krishna Shaktis Tavaiva Murtis Tulasi Nirloke Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam Bhakta Vihinaya Parada Lakshaya Shiptashtakama-ditarangamarde Kripa-mayita Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanaravinda Kamya Shrunuyat Pateva Vrindavanadishapadabja Bringa Saprapya Vrindavananitavasam Tat Prema Sevam Labhate Kritartha Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Devi Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Devi Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Devi. Shri Keśava-vrata by Srila Rupa Gosvāmī. Nava Priyaka Manjari Rachita Karnapura Śyām Vinidratara Malati Kalita Shekare Nojvalam Tarojvasita Yuthika Gratita Valguvai Kakshaka Vraje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keśava Vishangi Manikastani Pranata Shingi Pinge Kṣṇe Mritanga Mukhi Dhumale Shabaliham Shivangshi Priye Iti Sasuravikula Taralama Vayantam Mura Vraje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keśava Kana Pranaya Meturan Madhura Narma Goshti Kala Vilasa Nilayan Milad Vivida Vesha Vedotina Sakina Kila Saraya Patishuhasayantam Gira Vraje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keśava Śyāmam Bukanika Vali Dharavilira Gandantara Samura Giri Dhatubir Alikita Charupantram Puram Udančarali Mandale Duti Vidam Vivakralakam Vraje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keśava Nipatta Navatarnaka Vali Vilo Kanodkhanthaya Nathat Kura Bhutanchalar Alugugir Bhuvang Bindhatim Kalena Dhavala Gata Lagu Nirvartayantam Puro Vraje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keśavam Padankatati Virparam Virachayantam Ardashiyam Chalat Tarala Naichiki Nichaya Duli Dobra Sajam Marulla Hari Chanchali Krita Dukula Churanchalam Vraje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keśava Vilasa Murali Kala Dhvani Birulla Sanmanasa Kṣṇara Kila Pallavi Pulakayantamantarvihe Mohor Vidadatam Hride Pramuditancha Goshte Shvare Vraje Vijayinam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keśava Upekta Pati Sundari Tati Virabhira Vyarchitam Smitam Kurakaram Thitar Natarapanga Pankeshatar Stanastavaka Sanchala Nayana Chanchari Kanchala vipinadeshata Keśava idam nikila balavi kula mahotsavolasana gramena kilaya puman patati shushtupadashtaka tamujvaladiyam sada nijapadaravindatvaye rati tadada chanchala sukayatar vishakasaka Raje vijayinam paje vipinadeshata Keśava 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 Jaya Keśava-dev, 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 Jaya Keśava-dev, Jaya Keśava-dev, Jaya Keśava-dev, Keśava-dev, Jaya Keśava-dev. Just seeing. Is there? Alright, so now we're going to read some katha about Baladeva Prabhu and his Rāsa-līlā, and Vamsi-vadananda Thakur and Śyāmananda Prabhu, whose appearance day it is today, and then also of Srila Bhakti, what is his name? Srimad Bhakti Vilas Bharatī Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Today is also his appearance day. And then we'll read about this article from my Gurudeva Vasanti-rāsa from, what book is it from? Sri Prabandavali? No, Nectar of Govinda Lila. And then at the end I will read some things from Caitanya-Bhāgavata. Oops, wrong page. So this is from Śrīla Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja. April 27th is Srila Baladeva Rāsa-yatra, Sri Kṛṣṇa Vasanti-rāsa, and the appearance day of Sri Vamsi-vadananda Thakur, and as well as Sri Śyāmananda Prabhu in Vrindavan. The following is a bhavanuvad of the katha given by Srila Bhakti Vijñāna Bhāratī Gosvāmī Mahārāja on the same tithi on April 25th, 2013. Today is Purnima Tithi and a very special day. Today marks the celebration of Sri Krishna's Vasanti-rāsa and Sri Balaram's Rāsa-yatra. Sri Balaram performed Ras at Ramghat in Vrindavan. Previously, the Yamuna did not flow by Ramghat, but Balaram attracted her by force, using his plough. Sri Vamsi-vadananda Thakur. It is also Sri Vamsi-vadananda Thakur's appearance day. He is the incarnation of Sri Krishna's flute. After Mahaprabhu left, he remained in Navadvip on Mahaprabhu's order to serve Sachimata and Vishnupriya Devi and pacify all the devotees. Mahaprabhu would inform Sachimata of the various Vaishnavas arriving, as well as guests at their home. After Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Vamsi-vadananda Thakur took up this role. He also looked after all the household affairs for Sachimata and for Vishnupriya Devi. Sri Śyāmananda Prabhu. Today is also the appearance day of Sri Śyāmananda Prabhu. From the worldly perspective, he was born in West Bengal in the town of Bahadurpur, within the Burdhaman district in a Sargopa caste. His parents, having suffered much grief due to having lost several of their children at birth prior to Śyāmananda, named him Dukhi, literally meaning one who is sad, to ward off any further calamity. Later, he went to Ambika Kalna and accepted Diksha from a disciple of Gauridas Pandit, Sri Hridayananda, who later came to be known as Hriday Chaitanya. Śyāmananda was awarded the name Kṛṣṇa initiation, and thenceforth came to be known as Dukhi Krishnadas. Dukhi Krishnadas studied under the tutelage of Srila Jiva Gosvāmī in Vrindavan, along with fellow students Nartam and Srinivas. Eventually, Dukhi Krishnadas was awarded the title Shyamananda by the Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha, while Nartam received the title Thakur Mahashaya and Srinivas received the title Acharya. Thus they came to be known as Srinivas Acharya, Shyamananda Prabhu, and Nartam Das Thakur. Once while Shyamananda Prabhu was sweeping the grove at Sevakunj in Vrindavan, he found Srimati Radharani's ankle bracelet lying on the ground. Overcome by ecstatic symptoms just by its touch, he reverentially touched it to his forehead, and the nupur, the ankle belt, left a mark. Due to this mark, his tilak looked different. His tilak's like that. See how Krishna's tilak looks right there? That's how everybody in Shyamananda Prabhu's line, their tilak is like that. Looks like there's something missing. Okay. Yogamaya then approached Shyamananda Prabhu and said, wow, I've never heard it told by Yogamaya. Okay, here it says, other sources mention that Lalita Saki and Vishaka Saki approached Shyamananda Prabhu, and Srimati Radharani herself touched the ankle belt to his forehead. So that's other way that we hear this story. But Yogamaya then approached Shyamananda Prabhu and said, my daughter-in-law's nupur, her ankle belt, fell off her feet while she was dancing. If you have found it, please return it to me. However, Shyamananda Prabhu insisted, I shall return the nupur only to its owner. Then Srimati Radharani herself appeared to reclaim her nupur and in turn offered a beautiful deity of Shyama Sundar to Shyamananda Prabhu. Indeed, Shyamananda Prabhu is the recipient of a very special mercy from Srimati Radharani. That small deity of Shyama Sundar gifted by Srimati Radharani can still be found in the Shyam Sundar temple in Vrindavan. Small deity? The deity is ginormous. Oh, I guess this is the deity. Oh my God, I don't know anything. I thought, anyways, okay. Indeed, Shyamananda Prabhu is the recipient of very special mercy from Srimati Radharani. Oops, I just read that. And the same temple, the big deity of Shyama Sundar, was established by Baladeva Vijibhushan Prabhu later. Alright, learned something new. To instruct us not to supplant means supersede and replace. Okay. To instruct us not to supplant authority by overstepping set standards, Sri Jiva Gosvāmī chastised Shyamananda Prabhu for having changed his tilak to nupur tilak, instead of the conventional tilak worn by the Guru Varga. Then Shyamananda Prabhu related the entire story behind the nupur tilak. Each time he attempted to wipe off the nupur tilak, it reappeared on his forehead of its own accord. Thus it was accepted as a bona fide mark. To this day, the nupur tilak is adorned by the descendants of Shyamananda. This is the nupur tilak. Now we read about Shishimad Bhakti Vilas Bharatī Gosai Maharaj. Okay. So today is also the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Vilas Bharatī Gosai Maharaj. The following is an excerpt from a Bhavanuvad of the katha given by Srila Bhakti Vijñāna Bharatī Gosai Maharaj on the same tithi on April 25th, 2013 and April 4th, 2015. Today is the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Vilas Bharatī Gosai Maharaj, a dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. In the earlier years, Srila Maharaj used to stay in Bhubaneswar. He was well built and exceptionally intelligent. Afterwards, he moved to Jagannath Puri, wherein he became unwell and was diagnosed with tuberculosis. On hearing of this, Guru Maharaj immediately invited him to stay with us at Kolkata. At that time, we were staying in an old apartment on Satish Mukherjee Road. By Guru Maharaj's mercy, I had the opportunity to serve him at that time by taking him to the doctor and then to a Vaidya, an Ayurvedic physician, who eventually cured him. That Vaidya was Sri Khandavasi, coming from the lineage of Mahaprabhu's devotees from Sri Khanda. Sri Khandavasis were renowned as Vaidyas and had amazing ways to cure patients. Mahaprabhu said that those who are mercifully treated for their illnesses by the residents of Sri Khanda would be cured not only of their material disease, but of the disease of material existence, bhavarog, as well. Whoa, that is so cool. So from the time of Mahaprabhu, they're all known as Vaidyas, and even in more recent times, they're still, that tradition has stayed on. I guess this is a picture of their mat. That's the Thakurji. And there's the mat. What is it? Shri Rupanuga Bhajan Ashram. Oh, just at the very beginning of the... Okay. Srila Bhaktivilas Bharatī Gosvāmī Mahārāja later built a mat in Mayapur called Rupanuga Bhajan Ashram. Isn't that the very first thing right when you get into Mayapur, right to your left, is it? Looks like it. Anyhow, he also participated in the first Vrajamandal Parikrama organized by Guru Mahārāja. When he was constructing his mat in Mayapur, he wanted to locate his bhajan kutir in the front side, which was next to the main road. His reasoning was that way he would easily get darshan of devotees. However, I requested him not to do so and to build it on the back side instead, so as to avoid any disturbance while doing bhajan. In hindsight, he appreciated the recommendation later, saying, "I am glad I heeded your words. There is so much commotion on the front side due to the honking of vehicles and rickshaws. I would have never been able to do bhajan peacefully." He lived an extremely renounced life. Day and night he would write scriptures and print them, all by himself. He printed a lot of valuable books. He would serve the deities of the mat himself, even in his old age. A brahmachari from our mat would go to do the shringar of the deities daily, after Srila Maharaja's seva was done. His unique contribution. And then this is a note from the editors. Srila Bhaktivilas Bharatī Gosvāmī Mahārāja was greatly inspired to retain the sanctity of Sri Dham Mayapur, upon visiting which many could benefit by witnessing its spiritually surcharged activities and atmosphere. It was the pioneering vision and outcome of years of intense labor of Srila Prabhupada to reinstate Sri Dham Mayapur to its original glory. After the departure of Srila Prabhupada, as the glories of Sri Dham Mayapur spread, many visitors, including casual tourists, started getting attracted, leading to an unwarranted increase in nuisance in the area. Srila Mahārāja labored hard to curb many such unwanted activities and disturbances in Mayapur, like shops selling meat and materialistic people flooding the holy Dham, equating it to an ordinary tourist destination. People would come and camp on the banks of the Ganges, carrying out illicit activities. There was one shop in particular named Gaura Shankar, which used to sell chicken. Srila Mahārāja objected, "Why use Shiva and Parvati's sacred names for such a profane business?" He filed a petition in the High Court to curtail such activities and ensured that the prohibition was sanctioned so as to stop allowing the holy Dham to return into another tourist destination for sense enjoyers. When the new restrictions were approved, all such tourists were barred entry to the sacred land of Mayapur, 4 or 5 miles away from its boundary. He had gone to great lengths to specially solicit the assistance of the Delhi police force for this. That is why it is still written there, after you cross the railway line, by the order of the High Court, it is prohibited to have picnics from here onwards. If anyone was suspected to be coming there for a picnic, with vessels and other paraphernalia, they would be taken for interrogation by the police guard, who was always stationed there. Such was his nishtha that he had vowed that, as long as I live, I will not allow my Gurudev's holy lands to be polluted by materialistic activities. It is remarkable how many disciples of Srila Prabhupada served in multifarious ways and made such vital contributions. I beg at his lotus feet while remembering him on his appearance day today. I beg for mercy at his lotus feet. That's really neat. So everybody in Mayapur, anybody who's staying, any devotee who's staying in Mayapur, should be extremely grateful to Srila Bhakti-Vilas Bharati Goswami Maharaj that now there's no meat in Mayapur. In Navadvip, oh my God, there's meat everywhere. Meat shops all over. You can see like goats half cut open and stuff. That's disgusting. But in Mayapur, due to Srila Bhakti-Vilas Tirtha Goswami Maharaj, that's all gone now. Okay, so now we're going to read Vasanti-rāsa from my Gurudev's book, The Nectar of Govinda Lila. Oh, and for anybody who wants to hear about Baladeva Rāsa-yatra, there's an audio on this same page on purebhakti.com. If you go to the first article there, it says Vasanti-rāsa. There's an audio lecture of Gurudev speaking about Baladeva Rāsa-yatra. Now Jayadev will begin describing the Vasanti-rāsa. My heart is palpitating, for I desire to write such a thing which in this life I have not written before, and which is not mentioned anywhere, that Kṛṣṇa will fall at the feet of Radhika. We know it well, but Kṛṣṇa is the supreme controller, the cause of all causes, the original Bhagavat avatar. That he falls at the feet of his own potency, who is the form of his dasi, I don't know if this is proper. But my heart is saying that without Kṛṣṇa putting his head at her feet, she will not be appeased. I do not know if I'm able to write it. Jayadev goes on to describe that on the plains of Giriraj Govardhan at Chandra Sarovar, Chandra remains throughout the whole of one of Brahma's nights. What is the duration of Brahma's night? Millions of yugas. In order to witness the Rāsa-līlā, he stayed there, so it is called Chandra Sarovar. In the spring season, all of the fruits and flowers in Vrindavan come out. The she-crow starts her coo-coo sound, the peacock starts his ke-ka sound, and it is as if the pigeons are playing the conch shell, making their ko-ko sounds. They are all making their own sounds, and collectively it sounds as if they are playing a shanai. In this way, all of the birds and animals become happy, and there is no one who is not dancing. Forming groups, Kṛṣṇa and the gopis start dancing. All young unmarried girls are present there, and they had been waiting for 1 year. For dancing with Kṛṣṇa, for meeting with Kṛṣṇa, for a whole year, a fire of separation had burning inside them. Not for themselves, not for lust, but for mitigating this separation. For really becoming immersed in Kṛṣṇa's ras, one must enter into this poetry composed by Jayadev Goswami. Therefore, Caitanya Mahaprabhu, his heart full of ras, at night would tell Sarup Damodar, "Please recite Gita Govinda for me." Hearing it, immediately his pleasure would increase. Sarup Damodar would read precisely what Caitanya Mahaprabhu desired to hear. Sometimes it was the poetry of Jayadev, sometimes Chandidas, sometimes Vidyapati, and sometimes he would read verses from the 5 chapters describing Ras and the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. The gopis were clapping their hands as if they were kartals, and they played drums, the veena and the sitar. It was divinely beautiful as the gopis played one rag after another. There are some melodies in which there is no ras, so they played only the ragas that increase the ras. Kṛṣṇa sang in a very high pitch and in different melodies. The gopis then sang one song in a higher pitch than Kṛṣṇa. He wanted to sing higher, but couldn't, and could only say sadhu, sadhu, very nice, very nice. Kṛṣṇa was dancing, and with Srimati Radhika, he danced with such speed and dexterity that he himself was astonished, and he chanted sadhu, sadhu for himself. With one gopi, Kṛṣṇa was holding hands, and with another he was dancing by jumping up and down. Another he was embracing, and another he was kissing on the hand. Sometimes, with his eyes half open in great prema, he would look in the direction of a particular gopi. He would follow a certain rhythm of dancing behind one gopi after another, and this is how Vasanti-rāsa is described. In a fraction of a second, as short as a blink of the eyes, thousands more gopis arrived and started dancing. Radhika saw at that time Krishna's Parama Aishwarya Shakti was not working. He had stopped it. Here he kept the cause behind pastimes, Yogamaya, separate from him. He placed all these potencies far away by telling them, "At this time you will not do anything. For now you just sit quietly and watch." In this Līlā of Kṛṣṇa, everything was forgotten. Here, because Aishwarya was not manifest, Krishna didn't know that I am Bhagavan, and the gopis didn't know that we are Swari, we are the root of Yogamaya. All was forgotten. After a little while, Radhika saw, Krishna is a big cheater. He is cheating me. He seems to be dancing only with me, but actually he is dancing with everyone. Only because of his speed and dexterity does it seem that he is alone with me. Then Radhika exhibited some man, some jealous anger. If we feel this emotion, there is some selfishness in it. But in the hearts of devotees, there is no selfishness. In her heart, there is never any envy, but even if there is some, it is only a transformation of prem and mahabhav. Don't consider this to be a deformation, but rather it is an aspect of her variegatedness, her speciality. There is some milk. Add some sugar, and it becomes sweet. Mix a little kevra, and then a little camphor and other things. It becomes more and more sweet and tasteful. Like this, Radhika has her own uniqueness, and for making Krishna even happier, she exhibited some man. She left the rasa and went to a kunja, but then what happened? Upon arriving there, she thought, why did I leave Krishna's association? He didn't leave me, I left him. If there is any unfortunate woman, it is me. There is no one as unfortunate as me. Meanwhile, Krishna met one Saki and requested her, please go to Radha and tell her that Krishna is saying, I am very unhappy for you. In the future, I will never do such a thing as I did again. And you will always be happy. Now you please forgive me. The Saki went to Radhika and seeing her condition said, why are you behaving like this? Leaving Krishna you came here. He tried to please you, but you wouldn't accept it. So why are you upset? Just then Lalita appeared there and said, Krishna is a liar. Don't trust him. Don't ever reveal your simplicity to him. Remain crooked. Otherwise you won't be able to have straightforward dealings with him. He will never understand your value, so always remain crooked. The Saki tried in many ways to pacify Radhika, but she would not be appeased. When the Saki returned to Krishna and told him this, he said, somehow I must appease her. Then Krishna thought that he would play a joke to appease her. Pretending to be very unhappy, his face became withered and saying, now I am going. He left there and hid in a nearby kunja. Then some Sakis followed behind him, whispering, where is he going? Let us see. One second, I need to clear my throat. Okay, so he entered a kunj, and lay down amongst some large rocks. Seeing him lie down, the Sakis returned to Srimati Radhika, Lalita, Vishaka, and the others, and told them, he has gone to a nearby kunj. Being very unhappy and in pain from your separation, he was not able to go any further, and he has fallen asleep. They said, where? The Sakis then led Radhika and the others to the kunja. They peered into the entrance of the kunja and saw that his face was covered. They couldn't tell if he was crying or sleeping, or what he was doing. Then, moving closer, they saw that he was sleeping. His eyes were closed and his face was a little covered. The gopis exchanged hand signals, because at that time, their supreme enemy, the flute, was hanging loosely in his hands. God, it's really deep. So their supreme enemy, their flute, was hanging loosely in his hands. They thought that they should take it. They did not consider for a moment that they might be entering a trap, but just that they should take it. Then Radhika said, yes, we should take it, but who will do it? Who will tie the bell around the cat's neck? Who will take the responsibility of snapping the flute from his hand? Friends, this is not a simple thing. His hand is like a snake, If someone approaches and tries to take the flute, the snake will bite him and give its poison. And it will never leave him. That poison will never leave him. Therefore, who will dare to try? All of them thought together and concluded that it would not be possible for anyone except Srimati Radhika. So she said, "If you all insist, then certainly I will try." Very slowly, just as a cat does, she crept closer, walking very, very slowly and stealthily, smiling slightly and watching him. She went closer. But what was Kṛṣṇa doing? He had heard everything that they had discussed amongst themselves, and feeling that he should enjoy himself a little, he thought, if Radha is to be appeased, then there must be some direct conversation between us. But there has not been such an opportunity. Therefore I will let the flute be taken, and then I will see how I can talk to Radha. I will ask each of them, "Where did you put my flute?" And in the course of asking all of them, I will necessarily come to Radha. And then I will get the chance. It will be a moment of great happiness. Understanding everything, Kṛṣṇa allowed his hand to become slack. Thinking him to be asleep, slowly Radha crept near him and saw that he was apparently deeply asleep. When someone is sleeping lightly, they can be easily awakened, but when someone is in a deep sleep, you cannot easily awaken them. Kṛṣṇa then appeared to be sleeping like that. Quickly, she snatched the flute from his hand, and at once the gopis ran from the kunja. As they were all running with their long hair swinging to and fro, Kṛṣṇa opened his eyes, saying, "Hari, Hari! Hey, where's my flute gone?" He ran outside the kunj and said to the gopis, "You've stolen my flute!" He said to each gopi, "Did you take it?" Until he finally came to Radha. She replied, "What will I do with this useless piece of bamboo? Yes, I took it, and I will burn it also. It is only one piece of bamboo. In our garden we have thousands of sticks of bamboo, so what is the big deal about only one piece of bamboo? You can come and cut thousands and take them." In this way they were mutually joking, but they didn't realize that Kṛṣṇa was knowingly joking with them. Still, Radhika was not appeased, although internally she desired to meet Kṛṣṇa. He had already seen that sending a messenger would not do it, so what did he do next? He himself expanded into Shamali Saki. Assuming a very beautiful form, she approached the gopis with a basket of flowers in her hand, and in a sweet voice called out, "By rendering service to someone, I will mitigate all their distress and fatigue, and they will become very happy." At that time, Radhika and the Sakis were feeling fatigued and unhappy. Seeing Shamali, really, Radhika did not recognize this Saki as Kṛṣṇa himself, and Lalita, Vishaka, and the others also did not recognize him. When Kṛṣṇa assumes another form, who will recognize him? Even when an ordinary actor changes dress, we cannot understand who it is. For this purpose he employed Yogamaya, and therefore no one could recognize him. Shamali pleased Radhika by giving her a flower garland, which emanated a special fragrance. Radhika thought, "Where has this fragrance come from? Whose fragrance is this?" Knowing it to be related to Kṛṣṇa, she was very pleased. Shamali began saying to Radhika, "In this world, there is no one who is as kind, who has as many good qualities, who shows respect to everyone, who is as grateful, and who is as expert in all the 64 arts as Kṛṣṇa is. What to speak of just in Vrindavan, in the entire Brahmanda, there is no one equal to him. And you have so many good qualities, and you are so beautiful. So towards him you should not commit any offense." Praising Kṛṣṇa like this, and praising Radha like this, Shamali proved that Kṛṣṇa was not at fault. Radhika was fully appeased, and in the end, for her ultimate happiness, the final weapon was in his hand. Having returned to his original form, he said to Radhika, "In me there is a fire of separation, and only the touch of your feet can cool it. Therefore, be merciful and decorate my head with your lotus feet, because by doing so, you will also become happy." Being pleased, Radhika said, "Now agree to one thing. The flower bracelets on my feet are broken. Please rearrange them. And my hair plate has become loose. Please tie it." Seeing that he had followed her every order, she thought, "He has obeyed all of my orders very nicely. He will never go to another gopi. Come, let there be ras." At that time, the Rāsa-līlā was performed at Chandra Sarovar, and this is how Vasanti-rāsa is described in the Gita Govinda. Although we don't have the qualification to engage in Shravan and Kirtan of this topic, in brief we have tried to describe this ras and what sentiments of love came in it. Tasting and tasting this, just see how the condition of Mahaprabhu became. It was such a wonderful thing. Sarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda would describe it to him. I am only an ordinary person, full of anarthas. But in that place where Sarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda are describing this, Kṛṣṇa himself, full of Radha Bhav, will be there as a listener in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he receives so much ananda from it. Therefore, we will silently remember this Vasanti-rāsa, and when one day genuine spiritual greed arises in our hearts, we will be able to directly serve this ras. Wow. This was an excerpt from a chapter in the Nectar of Govinda Lila. You can download this book on purebhakti.com. My God, that was beyond words. All right, so let me just move this away. I was looking on the internet to try to find, one second, let me clear my throat again. Yeah, so I was trying to find Caitanya-Bhāgavata, the first chapter online, and I couldn't find it anywhere. It was really frustrating. So, I wanted it with the Anubhashya commentary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So I have it on my Kindle here, but unfortunately, you won't be able to see the words. I'll just read it out. So this is the very beginning of, this is how Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur chose to start his Caitanya-Bhāgavata. So I'm not going to read all the purports of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur because it will take too long, but I'll read some of them. So I have therefore offered my prayers first to the devotees, as this is the secret for attaining perfection. So in Caitanya-Bhāgavata, that's verse 10. So in Caitanya-Bhāgavata, first he offers his prayers to all the devotees of Mahaprabhu, and then Ishtadeva Vandamor Nityananda Rai Chaitanya Kiriti Spure Jahara Kripai. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Nityananda Rai, for he is my worshipable Lord. By his mercy, the glories of Lord Chaitanya become manifest. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, after first offering respects to the Vaishnavas, the author offers obeisances to his own spiritual master, and then begins to describe the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The mercy of Lord Nityananda, the author's spiritual master, is the main qualification in his endeavor. Okay, and it is to be remembered that Swayam Prakash Sri Nityananda Baladeva, who is non-different from Swayam Rup Sri Gaur Kṛṣṇa, is the source of the following Vishnu Tattvas: Mul Sankarshan, Mahasankarshan, the three Purush avatars, Karnadakshay Vishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Chiradakshay Vishnu, as well as the 1,000-headed Ananta Shesh. Now, text 12. Sahasravadana Vando Prabhu Balaram Jahara Sahasramuke Krishna Jashodham. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 1,000-headed Lord Balaram. His thousands of mouths are the abode of Lord Krishna's transcendental glories. Commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.13, the Supreme Lord glorifies Balaram before Yogamaya as follows. He will be called Ram because of his ability to please all the inhabitants of Gokul, and he will be known as Balabhadra because of his extensive physical strength. I'm not going to read because this is a really long purport. Oh my God, I'm going to skip this purport. Maharatna tuijena mahapriyastane Jashoratna bhandara Shri Ananta Vadane. Lord Ananta's mouths Lord Ananta's mouths are the storehouse of the gem-like glories of Lord Krishna, for valuable jewels are kept in a most appropriate place. skipping the purport. Ataeva Balaramer Ataeva age Balaramer stavan korile semuke spure Caitanya kirtan. Therefore, in the beginning, I offer my prayers to Lord Balaram, so that the glories of Lord Chaitanya will manifest from my mouth. Skipping purport. Sahasrika Panadar Prabhu Balaram Jateka Karaye Prabhu Sakala Udam. Lord Balaram has thousands of hoods, and all of his activities are extraordinary. Skipping the purport. Haladara Mahaprabhu Prakanda Sharir Chaitanya Chandrera Jasho Mata Mahadir. The Supreme Lord Balaram carries a plow and possesses a gigantic body. Although he is exceptionally grave, he is intoxicated by the glories of Lord Chaitanya. Long purport. Tattodika Chaitanyera Priya Nahiyar Niravadishe Dehe Korena Vihar. There is no one more dear to Lord Chaitanya than Nityananda. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya always enjoys pastimes with him. Tahara charitra jeva jane shune gai Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya tare parama sahai. Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya is most satisfied with one who chants or hears the characteristics of Lord Nityananda. Every time I pause, it means I'm skipping the commentary. Mahaprita hoy tare Mahesha Parvati Jiva spurai tar Shuddha Saraswati. Lord Shiva and Parvati also become pleased with such a person, and the transcendental goddess of learning, Saraswati, manifests on his tongue. Parvati prabhriti navar buddha nari loya Sankarshana puje Shiva upasaka hoya. Along with Parvati and innumerable maidservants, Lord Shiva engages in the worship of Sankarshan. Panchaskandera e Bhagavata katha Sarva Vaishnavera Vandya Balarama Gatha. The topics of the 5th canto of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam concerning Lord Balaram, the original Sankarshan, are glorified by all Vaishnavas. What's in the 5th canto? Anyways, I'm going to skip this. I'll just see. This is in the 5th canto. When the unalloyed devotees and the leaders of the snakes offer their obeisances to Lord Sankarshan with great devotion, they become very joyful. The demigods, the demons, the uragas, the serpentine demigods, the siddhas, the gandharvas, the vidyadharas, and many highly elevated sages constantly offer prayers to the Lord. He pleases his personal associates, the heads of the demigods, by the sweet vibrations emanating from his mouth. Narad Muni, the son of Lord Brahma, always glorifies Anantadev in his father's assembly. There he sings blissful verses of his own composition, accompanied by a stringed instrument, our celestial singer known as Tumburu. In this regard, one may see verses 53-57 of this chapter of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Canto 5, Chapter 25. Tana rasa krida katha parama udar Vrindavane gopi sane korila vihar. Okay, this is the part I wanted to get to. The narrations of Lord Balaram's Rāsa-līlā pastimes with the gopis in Vrindavan are most exalted. The narration of Lord Balaram's Rāsa-līlā pastimes with the gopis in Vrindavan are most exalted. Commentary by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The definition of Ras Krida is given by Sridhar Swami in his Bhavartha Dipika commentary on the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, 10.33.1, as follows. Rāsa-līlā refers to a particular type of dance involving many women dancers. In his Brihad Vaishnav Toshani, Sanatana Gosvāmī gives the characteristics of the Ras dance as follows. When many women join hands in a circle, and are embraced around the neck by male dancers, it is called a ras dance. In the book named Sangita Sar, it is stated, when a male dancer performs, being surrounded by a circle of many women dancers moving about, it is called a halik shaka. When a hali shaka dance is accompanied by various refined tunes, dance steps, and gestures, it is called a ras dance. As it does not exist even in heaven, what is the question of it existing on earth? That was in the book Sangita Sar. And its Sa-artha Darshini commentary on the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti states, Ras Krida refers to a ras dance in which there is a mixture of ingredients such as dancing, singing, kissing, and embracing. The word udar in this verse means great or exalted. Jiva Gosvāmī describes Balaram's Ras Krida in his Lagu Toshni or Vaishnav Toshni commentary on the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 10.65.16 as follows. Shri Baladeva, who is non-different from Sankarshan, solaced the damsels of Vrindavan by singing the glories of Krishna's names. Sometimes Shri Baladeva draws Kṛṣṇa from Dwarka by his mind and presents him before a particular gopi in a secluded place. Therefore he is known as Sankarshan. Sankarshan, who attracts, who pulls, right? No, who pulls. He attracts. He brings Kṛṣṇa. I never knew that meaning of Sankarshan though. He then says, in this way, it is reasonable to say that Shri Baladeva performed Rāsa-līlā with his own gopis. Because he is the all-knowing Supreme Lord and endowed with all potencies, he knows the internal feelings of his eternal beloved gopis. If one explains this verse in another way, it would diminish the prestige of Dwarka, so there is no need to further elaborate on this. He further says, at this juncture, Baladev's mood as the older brother did not manifest in order to protect the pathetic gopis. He also gives a description, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, no, this is Jiva Gosvāmī, yeah. Jiva Gosvāmī also gives a description in his Krama Sandarbha commentary as follows. The all-attractive Baladeva, who is also known as Sankarshan, attracts Kṛṣṇa by his mind and reveals him. The word tha refers to Kṛṣṇa's beloved girlfriends. Also, in his Brihad Krama Sandarbha, Jiva Gosvāmī says that the word tha refers to Kṛṣṇa's gopis. Okay, so some places we're hearing that it's Kṛṣṇa's gopis, and other places we're hearing that it's Baladev's gopis. For an explanation of Gopisane Vihar, see the purport of verse 25. There is a difference between the Ras Krida of Kṛṣṇa with his gopis and the Ras Krida of Balaram with his gopis. The arenas of the two Rāsa-līlās are situated in different places within Vrindavan. Such spiritually variegated activities are of two types. Maryada, are awe and reverent, and following the rules of, following all proper etiquette, and madhurya, or sweet. We must be extremely careful to protect our vision of spiritual variegatedness from the attack of monism. Although Swayam Rup Kṛṣṇa and Swayam Prakasha Baladeva are non-different, the distinction between their pastimes must not be denied. Even though Shri Baladeva belongs to the category of the Supreme Shelter, he is the prime example amongst the subordinates of the Lord. Text 23. Tui masa vasanta madhava madhuname halayuda rasa krida kahaye purane. The Puranas describe how Lord Balaram performs his Rāsa-līlā in the 2 months of spring, Madhav and Madhu. Commentary by Srila Saraswati Thakur. According to Srila Sridhar Swami's commentary, the word Madhu in this verse means Chaitra, March, April. We're in the month of, right, today is Chaitra Purnima, the full moon of Chaitra. And Madhav means Vaishak, April, May. Halayuda refers to Balaram, and Purane means the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and in the Vishnu Puran. Okay, so this Baladeva Rāsa-yatra is described in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and Vishnu Puran. Sheshakala shloka e shuna bhagavate Shri Shuka kohen shune raja parikshite. Now please hear those verses that were spoken by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. commentary. In the following 4 verses from the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, 1065:17 to 18 and 1065:21 to 22, Srila Shukadeva Goswami narrates to Parikshit Maharaj the full moon night Rāsa-līlā of Balarama and his gopi friends. Shukadeva had previously just described Baladev's arrival in Gokul to receive the affection of his juniors. He described Baladev's arrival in Gokul to receive the affection of his juniors, meet his former Vraj friends, and solace those who are afflicted by separation from Kṛṣṇa, such as the elders headed by Nanda and Yashoda, and also the friends of the same age, and the gopis who had fully dedicated their lives to Kṛṣṇa. 25. Dvau maso tatra chavat sin madhum. Sorry. Oh God. See, in this thing, it's all messed up. The Sanskrit, there's spaces everywhere within the middle of words, so it's hard to read. Dvau maso tatra chavat sin madhum madhavameva cha ramakshapasu bhagavan goping ratim avahan. Anyhow, Lord Balaram, the personality of Godhead, resided there for 2 months of Madhu and Madhav, and during the nights he gave his cowherd girlfriends conjugal pleasure. Not saying his cowherd girlfriends. Commentary. Balaram's Rāsa-līlā is described by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Brihad Vaishnav Toshani commentary as follows. In this way, Sri Baladev first solaced those gopis who were attached to Kṛṣṇa, and thus fulfilled the principal purposes of his visit. Okay, so the Krishna's gopis. He thus exhibited his affection for the residents of Vraj. Thereafter, he enjoyed spring pastimes with other gopis. He then says, regarding the words ratim avahan, rati refers to the original mellow, adi ras, or conjugal love. The prefix a means properly, and the word vahan means having received. So having properly received. Because he is Rama, he is expert in conjugal affairs. He is also the Supreme Lord, so he is very expert in the various types of conjugal pastimes mentioned in the Kama Shastras. The word ta, in the previous Bhagavatam verse, can also refer to those gopis who are greatly afflicted out of separation from Kṛṣṇa and whose only desire was to see Kṛṣṇa. Therefore, Balaram resided in Vrindavan for 2 months in order to please the gopis of Vraj with conjugal pastimes at night. By the use of the word cha, it is understood that Lord Balaram remained in Vrindavan for more than 2 months, because the gopis were greatly afflicted by feelings of separation, and because Lord Baladev is most merciful and gives happiness to everyone. In his Laghu Toshani commentary, Srila Jiva Goswami writes, the word gopinam in this verse refers to other gopis, for the use of the word gopi does not always refer to Krishna's gopis. If one says that both subject matters are the same, Kṛṣṇa enjoyed pastimes at night with the gopis, and Baladeva also enjoyed pastimes at the night with the gopis, so there's no difference between Kṛṣṇa's gopis and Balaram's gopis. So if somebody says that, in reply to this, it may be said that no one should have such doubts. Because the gopis described in the previous ras pastimes are different from these gopis. Therefore, one should understand that Balaram's gopis are different. So Sri Baladev expertly pacified Kṛṣṇa's beloved gopis, and then went to those gopis in whose presence he once teased by he went to those gopis after pacifying Kṛṣṇa's beloved gopis. He then went to those gopis in whose presence he was once teased by Kṛṣṇa, who said, "My dear older brother, the gopis are desiring the touch of your broad chest and the embrace of your 2 arms." These joking words indicated that although Balaram did not touch those gopis at that time, it would take place in the future. There, no mention that after Kṛṣṇa killed Shankachuda and played holy with his beloved gopis, that these gopis, described as subordinate to Kṛṣṇa's beloved gopis, received Kṛṣṇa's touch. So it should be understood that Kṛṣṇa instructed these gopis to carefully protect their chastity for the pleasure of Balaram. According to this, it should be understood that Kṛṣṇa solaced these gopis as explained above. The word kshapasu means most confidential. The word Rama in this verse refers to one who is qualified for enjoying. In his Krama Sandarbha, Jiva Gosvāmī writes, the gopis referred to in this verse as Balaram's gopis are those who played holy along with Krishna's gopis after the killing of Shankachura. Okay, so Balaram's gopis played holy along with Krishna's gopis after Krishna killed Shankachura. It should be understood at this point that these gopis remained chaste under Krishna's instructions. Krishna told these gopis to be totally chaste so that later on they can meet with Baladeva Prabhu and engage in Ras. There is no mention of these gopis receiving the touch of Balaram in his earlier Vraj pastimes. There is only some mention of their strong attachment for Balaram. Therefore, Krishna mercifully requested them to protect their chastity for the pleasure of Balaram. In his Brihat Krama Sandarbha, Jiva Gosvāmī writes, he pleased his gopis means that he pleased his own group of gopis. In a Sa-artha Darshini commentary, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has quoted Sridhar Swami as follows. The conjugal affairs of the gopis mentioned in this verse relate with the gopis who had either not taken birth when Krishna enjoyed his Rāsa-līlā pastimes, or those who were too young to take part. This is the standard understanding of the previous acharyas. Our Prabhupada, Srila Sanatana Goswami, has stated that these beloved gopis of Balaram were those who had joined Krishna's beloved gopis in the holy pastimes after the killing of Shankachura. Text 26. Purna Chandra Kala Mrishte Komudi Gandha Vayuna Yamuno Pavane Reme Sevite Stri Ganer-vrita. Oh, this is Sanskrit. In the company of numerous women. So this is, I think, from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, I'm guessing. In the company of numerous women, Lord Balaram enjoyed in a garden by the Yamuna river. This garden was bathed in the rays of the full moon and caressed by the breezes bearing the fragrance of night-blooming lotuses. Commentary. Baladev's Rāsa-līlā is described by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Brihad Vaishnav Toshini commentary as follows. In order to please Balaram and increase the beauty of Vrindavan, the eternal full moon of the transcendental abode appeared. In this verse, the phrase Sevite Stri Ganer, in the company of numerous women, refers to gopis other than those who enjoyed pastimes with Krishna, so Balaram's own gopis. In a Sa-artha Darshini commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, Sri Balaram enjoyed his Rāsa-līlā pastimes on the banks of the Yamuna at the famous place called the Ramaghat. This place is far away from the place of Krishna's Rāsa-līlā pastimes. Text 27 and 28. This is also from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Upagi mano gandharvar varnita shobhimandale Reme kore nuyutesho Mahendra iva varana Nedur dundu bhayo vyomni Vavrishu kusamar muda Gandharva munayor ramam Tarviyar idare tada. As the Gandharvas sang his glories, Lord Balaram enjoyed within the brilliant circle of young women. He appeared just like Indra's elephant, the lordly Airavata, enjoying in the company of she-elephants. At that time, kettle drums resounded in the sky, the Gandharvas joyfully rained down flowers, and the great sages praised Lord Balaram's heroic deeds. Commentary. Some editions have Udgayan instead of Upagiyamano, and Mahendra Varano Yatha instead of Mahendra Iva Varana. In either case, the meaning is the same. Since these two verses from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 1065, verses 21 and 22, have not been commented on by Sridhar Swami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it appears that these verses are not found in some editions of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Explanation of these two verses may be found in the Bhagavat Chandra Chandrika commentary of Vira Raghav Acharya, who comes in the Ramanuja Sampradaya, and in the Pada Ratnavali commentary of Vijñāna, who comes in the Madhva Sampradaya. Interesting. So I guess some editions of Srimad Bhagavatam miss some verses. Text 29. Je Stri Sangha Muni Gane Korena Nidan Tarao Ramer Rase Korena Stavan. Sages condemn the association of women, yet they glorify Lord Balaram's association with the cowherd girls and the rasa dance. Commentary. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1 verses 3-4, Sri Shukadeva Gosvāmī condemns the association of women and those who are attached to women in the following statement to Parikshit Maharaj. O king, the lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night, either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime either in making money or maintaining family members. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.31, 32-42, Lord Kapila says to his mother Devahuti, if therefore the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by sensually minded people engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before. He becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. One should not associate with a coarse fool who is bereft of the knowledge of self-realization and who is no more than a dancing dog in the hands of a woman. The infatuation and bondage which accrue to a man from attachment to any other object is not as complete as that resulting from complete as that resulting from the attachment to a woman or to a fellowship of men who are fond of women. At the sight of his own daughter, Brahma was bewildered by her charms and shamelessly ran up to her in the form of a stag when she took the form of a hind. Amongst all kinds of living entities begotten by Brahma, namely men, demigods, and animals, none but the sage Narayan is immune to the attraction of Maya in the form of a woman. Just try to understand the mighty strength of Maya and the shape of a woman, who, by the mere movement of her eyebrows, can keep even the greatest conquerors of the world under her grip. One who aspires to reach the culmination of yoga and has realized his self by rendering service unto me should never associate with an attractive woman, for such a woman is declared in the scripture to be the gateway of hell for the advancing devotee. The woman created by the Lord is the representation of Maya, and one who associates with such Maya by accepting services must certainly know that this is the way of death, just like a blind well covered with grass. A living entity who, as a result of his attachment to a woman in his previous life, has been endowed with the form of a woman, foolishly looks upon Maya in the form of a man, her husband, as the bestower of wealth, progeny, house, and other material assets. A woman, therefore, should consider her husband, her house, and her children to be the arrangement of the external energy of the Lord for her death, just as the sweet singing of the hunter is death for the deer. So it goes both ways, for women and for men. Narad Muni speaks the following words to Mahārāja Prachinabharhi in the Srimad Bhagavatam 4.25.6. Those who are interested only in a so-called beautiful life, namely remaining as a householder, entangled by sons and a wife, and searching after wealth, think that such things are life's ultimate goal. Such people simply wander in different types of bodies throughout this material existence without finding out the ultimate goal of life. Narad Muni describes the story of Puranjan and... Oh God, this is a long chapter and long purport. I'm going to skip this because it's just way too long. Yeah, oh my God, this is never ending. Whoa. Page after page after page after page. This is a good purport for me to read, though. Oh my God! It's not unending. There. Okay, text 30. Jarase deve asi pushpa vrishti kore Deva jane bheda nahi Kṛṣṇa hala dhare. Anyhow, that verse was saying that even though the sages condemn they condemn association with women and like that, they glorify Baladev's Rāsa-līlā. So now this verse, the demigods came and showered flowers on his Rāsa-līlā because they know there is no difference between Kṛṣṇa and Balarama. Commentary. The Caitanya-Charitamrita Adi 545 also states that there is no difference between Kṛṣṇa and Balarama in the following words. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Kṛṣṇa is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Lord Balaram is his second body. They are both one and the same identity. They differ only in form. He is the first bodily expansion of Kṛṣṇa, and he assists in Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. Also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 2174, it is stated, the first manifestation of the Vaibhav feature of Kṛṣṇa is Sri Balaramji. Sri Balaram and Kṛṣṇa have different bodily colors, but otherwise Sri Balaram is equal to Kṛṣṇa in all respects. So they're the same, the only difference in the color the color of their bodies. Lord Krishna glorifies Balaram, who is non-different from himself, in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10.15.8. You have embraced the young cowherd women between your two arms, a favor hankered after by the goddess of fortune herself. Text 31. Chari vede gupta bala ramera charita, ami ki bolivo shaba purane vidita. The characteristics of Lord Balaram are confidential to the Vedas, but they are elaborated in the Puranas. What will I describe? Commentary. Whatever is confidential to the Vedas is known to the Vaishnava Puranas. Regarding the glories of the Puranas, one may refer to verses 12 to 17 of the Tattva Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami's 6 Sandarbhas. In the Mahabharata Adi 267, it is stated, one should expand and accept the meaning of the Vedas with the help of the itihasas, the histories and the Puranas. The Vedas are afraid of being mistreated by one who is ignorant of the itihasas and the Puranas. The Naradiya Purana states, I'm going to skip this purport. Okay, because it's getting late and I want to get through all these verses. Murka doshe keho na deki purana, Balarama rāsa-līlā kore apramana. Due to foolishness, some people neglect the Puranas and refuse to accept the authenticity of Balaram's Rāsa-līlā. Commentary. The word murka doshe means due to foolishness. One who cannot realize the purport or essence of the scriptures is called a fool. Some living entities are proud of their material designations due to being averse to Lord Vishnu, who is beyond the material conceptions. They never care to discuss important Puranas like the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Others simply commit offenses by misinterpreting the conclusions of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which are the ripened fruit of the desire tree of Vedic knowledge, the destroyer of nescience, and the source of knowledge of the absolute truth. These two categories of people refuse to accept the Rāsa-līlā of Lord Balaram. The author has properly condemned these people in verses 38 to 41 of this chapter. Those who attempt to establish that Lord Balaram is not the supreme enjoyer without understanding that he is the supreme shelter, the personality of Godhead, are polluted with the defect of foolishness. So verses 38 to 41 of this chapter. So we're in 33 right now. Ekathai dui bhai gopika samaje korilena rasa krida vrindavana majhe. The two brothers, Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, both performed Ras Krida pastimes in the company of the gopis at the same place in Vrindavan. Interesting. Commentary. The word Ras Krida in this verse refers to the holy festival, as explained by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Laghu Toshini commentary on the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 10.34.13. Okay, after Krishna killed Shankachuda. So that's that Rāsa-līlā, when they did holy. Okay, this is from, I think, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam now. Verse 34. Kadachir atagovindo ramascharbhuta vikrama vijaratur vaneratram madhyago vrajayoshitam. Once Lord Govinda and Lord Ram, the performers of wonderful feats, were playing holy in the forest at night with the young girls of Braj. After Shukadeva Gosvāmī narrated to Parikshit Maharaj the Shiva Chaturdashi pastime of Krishna's liberating Nanda Maharaj from the clutches of the snake, who is actually the Vidyadhara named Sudarshan, he described Krishna and Balaram's holy festival with the gopis on a full moon evening. Beginning with the above verse, the author now quotes 4 verses from the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:34-20-23, describing this pastime. The word atha in this verse indicates after Shivaratri. The word kadachit refers to the night of Holy Purnima. Oh, so on Gaur Purnima. The word Rama means he who makes Krishna enjoy. It is therefore understood that since Krishna and Balaram had sported together since their births, they enjoyed mutual feelings of friendship. The mood of friendship between Krishna and Balaram was particularly prominent in Vraj, while in Dwarka, Balaram acted more in the role of an elder brother. In this verse, the word cha is used with the desire to establish that Balaram's mood of being the elder brother is secondary. This mood is found in the observance of the holy festival described in the Bhavishya Puran, Uttarkhanda and Central India. The word vane refers to the sub-forest of Vrindavan. This is the understanding from Srila Jiva Goswami's Lagu Toshani. Upagimana lalitam stri janar badaso hriday swalankrita nuliptango sragvino virajo bharo. Krishna and Balaram wore flower garlands and spotless garments, and their limbs were beautifully decorated and anointed. The women sang their glories in a charming way, bound to them by affection. According to Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary, according to Jiva Goswami's Lagu Toshani, Lord Balaram had his own group of gopi friends. Nishamukam manyantav udito dupatarakam malika gandamatali jushtam kumudavayuna. The two lords praised the nightfall, signaled by the rising of the moon and the appearance of stars. A lotus-scented breeze and bees intoxicated by the fragrance of jasmine flowers. So they praised at nightfall in that way. Jagatu sarabhutana manashravana mangalam tau kalpayanto yugapat swara mandala murchitam. Krishna and Balaram sang, producing the entire range of musical sounds simultaneously. Their singing brought happiness to the ears and minds of all living beings. Commentary. In his Lagu Toshani, Srila Jiva Goswami quotes the following description of Murchana from the Sangita Sar. A Murchana is a scale using the 7 notes in ascending and descending sequences. There are 3 modes, or gramas, each with 7 subdivisions, are murchanas, making a total of 21 murchanas. These are the precursors of rags. And the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 6.16.38, King Chitraketu prays to Lord Sankarshan as follows. O Lord, O Supreme, unintelligent persons who thirst for sense enjoyment and who worship various demigods are no better than animals in the human form of life. Because of their animalistic propensities, they fail to worship your lordship, and instead they worship the insignificant demigods who are but small sparks of your glory. With the destruction of the entire universe, including the demigods, the benedictions received from the demigods also vanish, just like the nobility when a king is no longer in power. I'm going to skip this purport because it's too long. Okay. Bhagavata shunija rame nahi prita Vishnu Vaishnavera Pate She Jana Varjita. One who has no love for Lord Balaram after hearing the Śrīmad Bhagavatam is rejected by both the Lord and his devotees. Commentary by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. As long as a living entity is conditioned, he is not considered on the path of worshipping Lord Vishnu, who is eternally full of knowledge and bliss, and the worshipable Lord of the Vaishnavas. In other words, he is unable to realize that the Lord is eternally full of knowledge and bliss. As soon as the living entity realizes the truths regarding the three Purushas, he is freed from illusion or mundane intelligence. In other words, this realization awakens transcendental intelligence in the heart of the living entity and helps him advance on the path of worshipping Lord Vishnu, who is eternally full of knowledge and bliss, and the worshipable Lord of the Vaishnavas. It is stated in the Sattvata Tantras. The first Purush, Mahavishnu, is the creator of the total material energy, Mahat. The second is Garbhodakshai, who is situated within each universe. And the third is Kshirodakshai, who lives in the heart of every living being. He who knows these three becomes liberated from the clutches of Maya. Bhagavata Jainamane Javana Sama Tara Shasta Ache Janme Prabhu Jama. This is text 34. One who does not accept Śrīmad Bhagavatam is no better than a Javan, and Lord Yamaraj punishes him birth after birth. Commentary. In the Bhagavat Mahatma of the Padma Puran, Uttarkhanda, chapter 63, it is stated, the topics of the Supreme Lord are realized by discussing Śrīmad Bhagavatam. One can understand the purport of the Vedas from every line of the shloka. One can understand the purport of the Vedas from every line of every shloka. There are many other similar statements in the various Vaishnava Puranas. The results of disregarding Śrīmad Bhagavatam is described in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 10-77 as follows. In this age of Kali, one who considers Śrīmad Bhagavatam more dear than his own life will never suffer the punishment of Yamaraj, even for 100 kalpas. Also in Hari Bhakti Vilas 10-81, it is stated that the wretched person who does not appreciate the study of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam and who hinders others in its study causes 100 generations of family members to go to hell. In the Padma Puran Uttarkhanda chapter 63, it is stated, one who continues to wander in the cycle of birth and death, as long as he does not for even a moment hear the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, which is recited by Shukadeva Gosvāmī. One continues to wander in the cycle of birth and death, as long as he does not hear for a moment the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. A person who does not hear anything from the Śrīmad Bhagavatam throughout his entire life is no better than a chandal or an ass. The result of his birth was only his mother's delivery pains. Whoa! Indra, the king of the demigods in heaven, declares that the sinful man who never hears the topics of Bhagavatam is simply a burden to the earth, and although living, he is actually dead. Okay, this is a long purport. Wow. Okay. Ebe keho napung shanka vishe nache, bole Balarama rasa kon shastre ache. Nowadays, some faithless person, some eunuchs, challenge, in which scripture is Balaram's Rāsa-līlā described? Commentary. The impersonalists consider the wonderful transcendental Rāsa-līlā of Balaram, who is the Lord of Lords, as uncorroborated by Vedic literatures. Even after giving up material enjoyment, they are unable to enter the transcendental arena of the rasa dance, which is the eternal goal for the pure living entities. Although their mentality is like that of the eunuchs, who unnaturally abstain from sense enjoyments, they are deprived of serving the Lord in any of the 5 types of relationships. That is why such people are known as eunuchs, or personalist sannyasis. 41. Kona papi shastra deki leho nahi mane, eka arte anya arta koriya vakane. Some sinful persons do not accept this pastime, even if they read about it in the scriptures. They distort the actual meaning of the scriptures into some other meaning. Commentary. To distort the meaning of the scriptures is cheating and offensive, and it is an offense against the holy names. It is impossible to realize the absolute truth with a sinful heart. Faithless persons who are always confused when trying to understand the faithful persons are always confused when trying to understand the absolute truth. They are blind in attaining their goal of life, and rather than accepting the truth, they distort the meaning of the scriptures. Caitanya-Chandrera priya vigraha balai tarastane aparade more sarvathai. Lord Nityananda is the dearmost object of Sri Chaitanya Chandra. Therefore, whoever commits an offense at his lotus feet is vanquished. Commentary. Sri Achyutananda, the son of Sri Advaita Prabhu, served Lord Hari under the guidance of Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Although two of Advaita's other sons sometimes accepted the guidance of Lord Chaitanya, there is no mention of their devotion for the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. One of Sri Advaita Prabhu's sons was named Balarama, and his son was Madhusudan. He was particularly affectionate towards the Smarta Raghunandan Bhattacharya, the son of Harihar Bhattacharya of Bandaghat. The son of Madhusudan, Radharaman Bhattacharya, followed the path of the Smartas and became faithless towards Sri Nityananda Baladeva. Okay, so this is why Vrindavan Das Thakur is writing all this in the very beginning of Caitanya-Bhāgavata. The author of Caitanya-Bhāgavata, who is a pure devotee and spiritual master, has perhaps written these verses, 38 to 42, with these people in mind. The statements of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur are not inapplicable to the unqualified descendants of Sri Nityananda Prabhu's disciples. Ooh. Murti bhede apane hayena prabhudas, Keśava lakshan avatarai prakash. Lord Balaram appears in various forms as a servant of the Lord. He manifests these symptoms in his various incarnations. Commentary. I'm going to skip this purport because it's really long. Shaka bhai vyanjana shayana avahan griha chatra vastra jata bhushana asana. Lord Balaram serves Kṛṣṇa in 10 different ways: as his friend, as his brother, his fan, bed, carrier, residence, umbrella, garments, ornaments, and sitting place. 45. Apane shakala rupe sevena apane jare anugraha koren paishe jane. In all these forms he serves himself. Whoever receives his mercy can understand this truth. Swayam Rup Shri Kṛṣṇa has personally appeared as Swayam Prakash Shri Baladeva in order to relish spiritual happiness. Please refer to the Chaitanya Charitamrita verses quoted in the purport of verse 43. Nivasa Shayana Sana Padukam. Oh wait, no, this is Srimad Bhagavatam verse. You know what, I think I'm going to end here, because I think this is the end of talking about Rāsa-līlā. Now, the most powerful Sri Gurudeva, the expansion of Anantadev, enjoys his pastimes as Krishna's carrier. Lord Balaram, Lord Shiva, the 4 Kumaras, Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Gosvāmī, and Narad are all pure devotees, eternal servants of the Lord. Lord Ananta is worshipped by the uncontaminated devotees mentioned above. He has thousands of hoods and is a reservoir of all devotional service. I'm just reading the translations. Lord Ananta is the first incarnation of the Lord and the master of all mystic power. At the same time, he is a servant of God, a Vaishnava. Since there is no end to his glories, no one can understand him fully. I just want to see why he's talking about. I've already spoken to you of Anantadev's influential service to the Lord. Now hear how the self-sufficient Ananta exists in the lower planetary system of Patal. Bearing his stringed instrument, the tumburu, on his shoulders, the great sage Narad Muni always glorifies Lord Ananta in Brahma's assembly. Narad Muni has composed many transcendental verses in praise of the Lord. By his glance, the Supreme Personality of Godhead enables the modes of material nature to act as the causes of universal creation, maintenance, and destruction. The Supreme Soul is unlimited and beginningless, and although he is one, he has manifested himself in many forms. How can human society understand the ways of the Supreme? Oh my God, it's getting too late. I need to stop. I'm sorry, I'm not going to end this. Yeah, I have other things to do tonight, actually. Sorry. Sorry to just end it all of a sudden. But anyhow, we read the main parts that I wanted to read about Baladeva's Rāsa-yatra. I'm going to just do a quick Mahamantra Kirtan, but just reading this Caitanya-Bhāgavata, I'm getting such a big desire to, I don't know. We're reading Śrīmad Bhagavatam in the morning, but maybe I should start reading Caitanya-Bhāgavata in the evening time. It would be Śrīmad Bhāgavata in the morning, Caitanya-Bhāgavata in the evening. I don't know. But I'm not going to commit to that just yet, but anyhow. Oh God, I almost... I mean, I'm still going to continue reading articles throughout Keśava, but I'm thinking maybe on Akshaya Tritiya we can start Caitanya-Bhāgavata. Anyhow, let's see. How would you? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmad Srila Bhaktivinoda Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Srila Gurudeva Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmad Srila Bhaktivinoda Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmad Srila Bhaktivinoda Swami Mahārāja Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keśava-vrata Mahārāja Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Mahabhagavat Srila Gokshara Swabaji Mahārāja Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Mahārāja Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuk Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dashagunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shyama Kund ki jai, Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaura, oh my god, Shri Baladeva Rāsa-yatra ki jai, Shri Kṛṣṇa Vasanti-rāsa ki jai, Shri Vamsi-vadananda Thakur ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Tithi ki jai, Shri Shyamananda Prabhu ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Tithi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Vilas Bharatī Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Tithi ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo, Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyaya Keśava-vrata, Kṛṣṇa Bhakti Pradadevi, Sattvatai Namo Namaha, Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams. Sorry, today is such a long reading. An hour and 36 minutes that we have. See you all tomorrow evening. And thanks for reading with me, Rasangi Mataji. Haribol. Dandavat pranams Prajumna Prabhu. Haribol.